Hello and welcome to On the Record. I'm your host, Jerome Sawyer. It took 10 years after independence, but in 1983, when the Bahamas joined the body known as CARICOM, an acronym for the Caribbean Community, it would be one of the more important geopolitical and diplomatic moves we could have made. Yet for many Bahamians, there are no immediate tangible benefits to this now 36-year-old relationship. Well, that continues to be one of the major misconceptions we may have as a people. Climate change and its effect on small states, blacklisting, and the latest health crisis known as coronavirus cannot be tackled alone. Now more than ever, we need our neighbors to act and to speak to the rest of the world. Just recently, the On the Record team traveled to Barbados for a CARICOM heads meeting. In this show, we will share with you how CARICOM has helped us to find an even louder voice on the global stage. Tonight's topic, our region in crisis, CARICOM to the rescue. Welcome to On the Record. Looking for more On the Record? If you miss our Thursday showing at 8 p.m., join us for the re-airing on Friday mornings at 10, and then again each Sunday night at 8:30. Or go to our YouTube channel and catch up on all of our past episodes. And then like our Facebook and Instagram pages for a preview of upcoming shows and get a chance to ask your questions. Just look for On the Record. And welcome back to On the Record. Tonight, we look at our region in crisis, CARICOM to the rescue. You ask most Bahamians what they understand our relationship in CARICOM to be, and the responses might surprise you. There is a lot of ambiguity, disinterest, and general apathy to anything out of the Caribbean, save the troubles in Haiti, because of our potential impact and the impact it has on us. But here are some realities. The Bahamas sits around the table with the heads of 14 other Caribbean leaders twice a year. They are discussing ongoing issues and new agenda items stemming from global and regional affairs. That's twice a year we get to talk and to see where we can help each other in problem solving. In late February, the venue was Bridgetown, Barbados, for what's called the Intersessional Meeting, a mid-year caucus where leaders discuss progress on issues from their last meeting and any new developments since last they met. This meeting had a very common and obvious theme: resiliency. Our ability to recover from the fallout from climate change, blacklisting, coronavirus, and ongoing conflicts in places like Haiti.
These issues demand that we act collectively to overcome the hurdles that confront us. We face an increasingly hostile international environment which demands more than ever that we come together to secure and promote our interests as a community.
The leader of the host country assumes chairmanship for 6 months, which meant St. Lucia's Prime Minister, Alan Chasnett, had to lead the community through the last 6 months of some major challenges.
When I took over the chairmanship at the 40th meeting at the Conference of Heads in St. Lucia in July of 2019, I identified some of the areas that were troubling to all of us: climate change, blacklisting by the EU, the adversities facing small island states in the international community, the ongoing situation in Venezuela, the withdrawal of correspondent banking services from the region, among others. Unfortunately, none of these issues have gone away, and it will be up to the incoming chairperson to continue to lobby on our behalf, because in most cases, the urgency is even greater. Another CARICOM delegation interfaced with the European Union on the troubling issues of blacklisting, which continues to this day. Member states of the community, however, continue to take the necessary steps to comply with the demands of the regulating agencies. But while they do, countries in our region are still being penalized. Some of us remain on the gray list, while only one member state remains on the blacklist. We must continue working until all of us are off the list. But more importantly, we must make every effort to ensure that this undemocratic and discriminatory practice of a public blacklist is discontinued.
Add to that the looming crisis in Haiti that erupted since the last meeting.
We must be honest brokers and admit that we, like many others, have failed in our attempts to find a solution and a need to collectively chart a new course. We owe it to the people of Haiti, who deserve much more, especially given our common histories.
CARICOM leaders would later agree to some decisive action on Haiti, which included the Bahamas. As country host, Barbados' Prime Minister Mia Mottley took her seat as chairman, delivering both a sobering and profound charge.
I want our heads to focus on the challenge and the response. And I want us today to remember that F comes before I, and that I mean specifically that family comes before ideology. This is a critical moment for us as a community to understand that whether the challenges be with respect to chronic NCDs, which is the insidious killer among too many of our people, or whether the challenge be the more talked about and definite existential crisis of climate, affecting us not just through hurricanes, as it literally has torn many of our countries apart, from Dorian with Bahamas to Maria and Irma with Dominica and Antigua and Barbuda and the British Virgin Islands and too many of our countries to mention, or whether it is violence that has genuinely become a public health disorder with a level of killings across our community that is unacceptable for any community, any part of the world, or whether it is the challenges to our fiscal sovereignty, or whether it is the challenges to multilateralism that are taken and making aim at the integrity of our freedom of association as small groupings, we have to determine how best to confront these challenges.
While the Bahamian context and view of CARICOM can give the perception of a standoffish position, there are more things that unite us than divide us, as championed by Prime Minister Mottley in her charge to the leaders.
We ought to be able to find the resolve to understand that we meet here today not because we share a common ideology, but we meet here today because we are family. We are kith and kin. And whether it is at the level of countries or it is at the level of homes and communities, being kith and kin must stand for something. We will not always have sunny days, but it is when the days are cloudy that we determine how best to move forward with the character that defines us as being resilient and as being able to reach the mountaintop in spite of the valleys that we have to traverse on our way to the mountaintop.
As a member state, the Bahamas participates at every level of CARICOM, from ensuring our annual dues are paid to designating a High Commissioner and Ambassador. That post is currently held by His Excellency Reuben Ramming.
Well, this is very, very critical. The CARICOM meeting is an ongoing discussion. There have been times, the Bahamas has always been committed to CARICOM. Sometimes it lulls a little bit, and the Prime Minister had made a commitment from day one in his administration that he will engage the community more strongly. We have an interesting relationship with CARICOM because we are together as a bloc. It gives us leverage, more leverage internationally. We truly are families. That means there are some interesting moments in debate and discussion, but when we do come together, we punch far above our weight. As a community, we have our issues, but we have more in common that brings us together than what divides us. Because of the leverage, we just saw the outgoing chair for St. Lucia, Alan Chestnut, has been engaging on behalf of the overall community on critical issues. We are set at a major disadvantage because of the big fish, the big players, European Union and other persons who seem that they can make decisions from their couches as relate to things that impact us, like blacklisting and de-risking. And these are things that sometimes go over the head of the common people or the average person in the Bahamas who may not be in the financial services sector. And they say, why is that important to me? Why are you traveling and fighting these battles? Well, let me make it very simple. If you don't fight these battles, when you try to write a remittance for your child in college, it won't work. If you don't fight these battles when you want to make a payment online with your Visa, MasterCard, it won't work. If you don't fight these battles, all the banks in the Bahamas will simply be a glorified ASU, because they will not have the relations that we need. Corresponding banking, international, our financial services will collapse. It's our second largest industry. It will impact our tourism because, again, it takes that e-commerce and that economy to be able to do things. If you don't fight these battles, then we'll have issues with our foreign services, our outreach, our interconnectivity with the world. And we are getting a bit more leverage through the collective bargaining and leverage of the CARICOM community. We have a lot of things in common that we're dealing with, security issues, migration issues that are not simply unique to us. A lot of them have border issues, just like what we also struggle with. And we realize that in many instances as a country, if we don't assist our neighbors with the fight, then the problem becomes our issue. So sometimes it would seem that we are overreaching, saying, oh, it's not bothering us, why are you helping them? Well, if we don't help them with that, then their migration problem comes over here. So being a brother keepers applies tremendously. Security issue is tremendous. The issue of crime and violence impacts us the same way. The Bahamas, is number one, especially in a touristic product, and is respected worldwide and throughout the Caribbean. So we bring a lot to bear in terms of advising and helping persons with that. In some countries where they just celebrated their first million cruise ship arrival visitors, we're celebrating over 7 million visitors to our shore. The relationship and the interaction with our colleagues and our brothers and sisters in the Caribbean is critical. That's my role as the High Commissioner and Ambassador. Non-resident, so I have to balance a lot of things, but ensure that our Prime Minister and our country is well versed in what is happening also on a more intimate level in these countries. These go a long way in fostering our relationships. It is always best to be a friend to someone before you need them.
I do want to ask, though, about the issue of climate change. And that has been resonating even at this point in all the opening remarks. Are we sort of leading that fight as a region, or how important is our role, considering what we have just come through with a devastating hurricane?
Virtually every country in the Caribbean is going to suffer the same plight as the Bahamas. I mean, we are threatened with possibly up to 80% of our land mass being gone with a movement of 2 degrees in climate change. I mean, that's my house gone, your house gone. Only place maybe left is Government Hill and Collins Hill. The other islands in the CARICOM, though a lot of them are mountainous, they will also have that same issue. So it's a common trend. We, especially at the advent of Dorian, have now basically become the poster child worldwide for climate change. And so in the midst of our devastation, there are positives. Because of that, I think it helps keep us in the forefront because, the thrill of a disaster wears off quickly, and aid and help wears off with it. I'm fortunate in this disaster, the topic of climate change, the example is now the Bahamas. And I'm hoping that will also bear fruit in our recovery and keep us in the forefront of those persons. We are the least contributors, practically zero contributors to the components that is scientifically registered as the cause of climate change. We have virtually zero emissions. We don't produce the carbon footprint and all the other things that cause this kind of this event. So we are really victims, along with a lot of other small island developing countries.
When On the Record continues tonight on special assignment, we take a closer look at the Bahamas-CARICOM relationship. Stay with us.
where in the world is Matt Lauer? Where in the world is Ellison Greenslade? And so it's about the low value of continental Atlanta. So we can talk about it.
On the record tonight, the government's purchase of the Grand Lucayne is a hot subject in the news. We're going to
This portion of On the Record brought to you by Executive Printers of the Bahamas Limited. We print profits for you.
Welcome back. This segment of On the Record is brought to you by Executive Printers. The Bahamas maintains a very unique relationship with CARICOM. As a member state, we do not participate in the CARICOM single market, a process that is steadily developing among other member states. Yet, we benefit from the close relationship with other Caribbean countries in a world of globalization and trade liberalization, where industrialized nations are setting the rules for investment and trade, including trade and services, which is vital to the Bahamas. The truth is that the region has the intellectual capacity to negotiate, though it lacks the economic muscle to withstand the pressure of larger countries. In this connection, neither the Bahamas nor any other single Caribbean community country can cope alone. It's far better to have a collective voice. Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis led the delegation to Barbados last month and used the opportunity to reaffirm and present new positions. As a country, we continue to oppose the free movement of people, but consideration is being given to a register of Caribbean nationals who can fulfill the need for skilled labor, especially in the hurricane recovery effort.
We should keep some catalog, some diary of professionals that's being kept by CARICOM, and each country, their needs in terms of employment needs, you can just contact CARICOM, and CARICOM can dispatch those individuals for us or inform us as to who are available. I think that is important, especially the Bahamas, because we have a severe shortage of surveyors. And we have made a commitment, my government has made a commitment that we want to give the young people land, we want to give people who want to go into businesses land, people who want to start their homes land. And because we don't have adequate surveyors, we can't progress our program as rapidly as we want to. And therefore, I'm trying my best to source as many surveyors as possible here so that we can commence that program. No, well, not commence, we can accelerate the program. We've commenced it already, but still we run into obstacle because we don't have sufficient surveyors. But that's a commitment I've made to Bahamian people, and that's something we want to complete. Land is wealth, and we want to ensure that each and every Bahamian has an opportunity to own their land, build their home, commence their businesses, because I pointed out within my CARICOM colleagues that not only we provide the land, but we also have a small business development program where we allow individuals to access $5 million per year over the next 5 years. And the private sector has contributed well in excess of $2 million to that particular fund. So we've had individuals who have been able to access as much as $500,000 in loans and grants. So you can imagine if the government is providing you up to $500,000 in loans and grant, and you're provided with the land, and you are allowed to build duty-free, that's the way forward.
Mm-hmm. So one of the agenda items at this meeting had to do with climate change. Obviously, this is of great importance to us. What is our continued position, particularly given some of the backlash the government has received with the ban on plastics that has come into force in January?
No, all of the Commonwealth countries, CARICOM nations are moving towards a ban on plastic. Of course, we have to protect our waters. We recognize what climate change is doing to especially small island states in terms of rising sea levels, in terms of affecting our marine life, in terms of the increased ferocity of the hurricanes that we see, and hurricanes coming more rapidly. We recognize that, and we're innocent victims of the effects of climate change. So we're pushing very aggressively for first world nations to assist us in building resilience, because we know that we will be hit again. It's not a matter of will we be hit, the answer is when. That's the major question, when, and therefore we must be prepared. We must build resilience. Our roof must be properly redesigned. Our walls must be properly redesigned. Our infrastructure, we must move towards more energy-efficient homes, etc. So we're all moving towards that. We realize that that will have great impact on our survival, our existence within the Commonwealth and small island developing states.
Do you think we understand that the rest of the Caribbean is moving towards these environmentally safer practices? I mean, you would have heard all the backlash, but do you think we understand everyone else is moving in that direction?
I think what happened is Bahamians and individuals, not just Bahamians, are resistant to change. When we were building the roads, redevelopment of the road programs in NASA, there were great outcry, backlash, etc. And then now we see the benefits. We're moving towards building resilience. We were just hit with Dorian. As was pointed out yesterday, we're moving very aggressively, especially when you look back at our return to our tourism numbers. I pointed out that Puerto Rico took 15 months to return to 70% of their pre-hurricane tourist numbers. St. Martin took 20 months to return to 70% of their pre-hurricane. The Bahamas took 1 month to return to 80% of their pre-hurricane numbers. So we're on the right track, but people are resistant to change, and we recognize that, and we just have to do better in terms of our public relations, marketing, education, informing the public, etc. And when we talk about education, education is key. We had a university group yesterday, professor did a presentation. They had done extensive research on how do you advance your economy, how do you conquer poverty. And what was amazing, the number one factor in terms of eradicating or making a dent in poverty is education. So, I read the newspapers and they say the minister's administration has done nothing with respect to poverty. The number one issue to help the poor is education. We have made education free in our university because we recognize that that's the way to go. We have introduced preschool, we've not introduced, we've advanced preschool education and making that free. That's the way to go. We recognize that we don't have sufficient schools. So what we've done, we encourage preschoolers to go into private sector. We encourage Bahamians to develop and build preschools. We provide you with the land. So you get the land free so as you can build your preschool. We also provide you with funds through the development fund. We provide you those funds so that you can build your preschool. We also provide you with duty concessions. You can build free. You can bring the equipment free. You can bring the materials free. What else can we do? So we're giving you free preschool, free high school, free tertiary education. That's how you advance it. That came out. The other interesting factor that came out is to advance the economy, you must improve your transportation system. Transportation by sea, transportation by air. Within the Caribbean, that's why LIAT is so important. Within the Bahamas, that's why Bahamas Air is so important. Within the Bahamas, we must move towards fast ferry. But what happens? We are so myopic that if you develop a fast ferry system and your grandmother has some political affiliation, they'd say, no, we can't do it. He has some political affiliation. No, we must be on that. If we want to advance our country, we must encourage Bahamians to go into fast ferries. And government must subsidize them if you truly want to advance your system, because the fast ferry system is advancing. They must move faster. The slower a boat moves, that in itself discourages individuals from utilizing boat as transportation. But it's been shown that the faster these vessels move across the waters and the quicker one reaches their destination. That came out very clear by the presentation of the university group. So we're on the right track with education, we're on the right track with land, we're on the right track with transportation. So we are doing a lot in terms of eradicating poverty, educating our people, but we have to be more proactive in informing the nation as to what we've done, and we're preparing you not for today, we're preparing you for tomorrow, so that we'd have a better Bahamas and you can compete on the international scene. But what also was most significant that came out is that we cannot be in isolation. We cannot be myopic. We must advance our technology. The world is at our feet. And therefore, our educational structure, which our Minister of Education was preaching, our educational structure must change so that technology, not math becoming your number one subject that must be done. Technology, IT must now be number one, because that's the only way you can access and become a part of the global world. So when you're marketing, when you're selling, you're not selling to Bay Street, you're selling to Africa, you're selling Japan, you're selling to China. The world is at your feet. And if we cannot compete, if we do not understand technology, if we do not understand the internet, then we cannot compete. We become myopic. So we only concerned with selling one slice of the cake. I'm not concerned about selling one slice of cake. I'm concerned with selling the bakery.
Sir, I want you to confirm whether or not the Bahamas is hosting CARICOM next year.
I'm supposed to be chairman coming up soon. I've written CARICOM asking for a delay in me accepting the chair. I've not heard, and I won't give you the reasons at this particular time. I'll give you reasons later. So I'm waiting to hear from CARICOM.
Are you pleased, sir, that the European Union has taken the Bahamas off its blacklist?
I'm very pleased. I'm very pleased. We've opened our embassy in Brussels. We have an individual there who has knowledge of banking sector, and her, along with our Ministry of Finance and private sector involvement. The private sector has been very gracious and has assisted us, and we will be even more proactive in terms of our banking sector keeping us off the grey list, and we must not blacklist. And now we must deal with the matter with France and I think Holland, but we will aggressively, and we are involving the private sectors to assist us in moving this, and that's how you must move forward. It cannot be just government. You must involve the private sector and everyone who has such skills, such knowledge. We must invite them all and bring them all.
What has been the discussion from a CARICOM perspective in terms of moving together as a region? There are still some countries which are, I think there's one country that's still on the blacklist, but as individual states, we're all vulnerable. But what is the position that CARICOM has taken now to try and end this sort of, I call it on again, off again with the blacklist?
Yeah, no, CARICOM, we work together in moving our entire grouping of blacklisting, and we try to work as one. We have committees, we have organizations that deal with that. So we speak not with one voice, but we speak with the entire voice of CARICOM, and we're aggressively moving towards that. We've dealt with banking issues in terms of banking issues, the challenges that we face with banks, regulations, etc. And CARICOM is working aggressively towards speaking with one voice, and so that the challenges that we have with banking are resolved.
One of the issues that was addressed yesterday in the opening had to do with a removal of some of the services that some of the commercial banks, international commercial banks, are doing. Is that a real concern with us? We would have heard that quite a few of the major banks have cut back on services. We even know from a Family Island perspective, a lot of those banks no longer exist. From a local perspective, is that something that we need to be concerned about even?
That's very, very concerned about that, because there's some of the countries were challenged with clearing banks, for example, and therefore, as a group, CARICOM, we've set up meetings with, we've set a committee that deals with that, and they would have meetings with individuals or sectors or committees in the United States, be it senatorial committees, be it Black Caucus Committee, that would, if we lose clearing bank capacity, then obviously you can imagine the repercussions you'd have not only in the Caribbean but throughout the world. So we set up committees, and CARICOM committees, individuals with financial knowledge, etc., are working aggressively on that so that it's the banking sector is not compromised. You're talking about banks moving out of Bahamas to other parts of the Caribbean, etc. That's why it's essential for us to restructure our educational system in terms of technology. The banking as we see it today, things are changing. Everything is becoming technologically savvy. Individuals are doing it on their phones. If we were advanced, where we can do banking on phones, etc., the challenges that we face with Dorian, it would not have been as bad as we've had it in terms of individuals accessing monies to pay bills, purchasing. You can do all that by the phone. And CARICOM and the entire Caribbean community is moving towards, we're moving towards first world.
There was a issue raised about creating a single rate for roaming. Where's the discussion gotten with that, and is there any possibility the Bahamas will be a part of that?
Yes, Bahamas is a part of CARICOM, and we're talking about roaming, especially within the Caribbean. When you go to Jamaica, there's a roaming rate. You go to Jamaica, Barbados, there's a roaming rate. Well, we have a committee that has been successful and did release all of that very soon in establishing a fixed roaming rate for CARICOM nations. So you can go to Barbados and your roaming rate is so-and-so. You can go to Antigua, your roaming rate is so-and-so. Because it's not unusual. Individuals travel throughout the world, Caribbean countries, etc. And they're not cognizant of the cost of telephone calls. And when they return home, they find themselves having bills of thousands of dollars. So we recognize that that's a challenge. And telephone and communication is essential for the advancement of your economy and your country. Recognizing that CARICOM has established a committee to deal with that so that we can have fixed roaming rates moving forward.
Final question. What was the discussion on coronavirus? That has been it's now a global health crisis, and CARICOM has addressed that as a body in some respects.
Yeah, CARICOM, we have CAFA, the Caribbean institution that deals with testing, etc. And CARICOM has pointed out that we must continue to work with World Health. World Health, PAHO, is our speaking, the grouping that speaks for us in terms of health, and our Chief Medical Officer. The Chief Medical Officer, the PAHO representative, World Health representative, those individuals, they put together the program so that we work and we function as one unit. We're following WHO's policy and how to deal with that. And CARICOM basically was pushing that information, informing us, reminding individuals that we must adhere to PAHO World Health Standards, and the Chief Medical Officer is our health representative.
Historically, CARICOM meetings provide a venue for other world leaders to sit face-to-face with their Caribbean counterparts. Barbados was supposed to be where Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau would have his turn. But some domestic unrest made it impossible to make the planned meetings. His Foreign Affairs Minister would make the journey instead. It meant that Bahamian Foreign Minister Darren Henfield would have to lead the bilateral discussions.
The Canadian bilateral gave us an opportunity to firstly thank Canada for their intervention during the hurricane. Canada was very instrumental in moving troops with their military aircraft, with sending us dogs for search and rescue, donated I think $500,000 which went toward the Red Cross. I was very supportive throughout the entire ordeal ongoing with Dorian. Actually, the Foreign Minister formerly, who's now the Deputy Prime Minister, Freeland, called me several times during the event, as we have a personal relationship in that way. And then we were able to share with them our views on some of the travel advisories that they issue. We think they're quite arbitrary at times, without consultation, just taking one side of the story without speaking to us. They seem to understand. Canada seeks to deepen its relations with not only the Bahamas, but the entire CARICOM community.
What was the impact of not having the Prime Minister come? I mean, I know he was dealing with some domestic issues, but having the Foreign Minister come, did that impact the discussions in any way and what could have been achieved?
No. Foreign Ministers are empowered to speak for Prime Ministers, and that's normal. We understand his exigencies in Canada, which prohibited him from coming. It would have been nice if he would have been there to have exchanges with CARICOM heads of government, but no, it wasn't that impactful. In fact, some leaders met with him. Mine was busy at the moment, and so I was instructed to meet with him.
And what is your role at a meeting like this? You have the Prime Minister, and you have all these delegates and all these leaders from other countries. What becomes your role at a CARICOM meeting?
Okay, foreign ministers are normally engaged with the issues that are dealt with by CARICOM heads when they meet in caucus like this, when they meet in sessions like this to discuss them. We actually set the agenda in most cases. And so the issues that are before us that touch and concern the entire community. It was interesting, the chairwoman, Mia Mottley, Prime Minister for Barbados, she said something that really struck a chord. She said, we are family, and family comes before ideology. Now, on all instances, we don't agree, but we strive to agree where we can, and where we don't, we go in our national interest. But issues like climate change, issues like banking, financial services, graduation, which lends problems to our correspondent banking facilities in the Bahamas, blacklisting, graylisting, these things, security concerns that we share in common in this region. We find that the young people, we have to find a way to move them away from the violence that they engage in, normally perpetrated by weapons that are imported into our region. And this type of activity that is counterproductive to the kind of wholesome, peaceful region that we'd like to achieve in the Caribbean.
Now, the Caribbean Heads of Government is annual. That's every July. Why is this intersessional meeting important, and why is it even necessary?
It's necessary and important for us not to lose touch with these issues that are so very important to us. So very important for us. Together, we say this all the time, together we are a force, alone you're just a voice. All right, and so it's necessary for the Bahamas to remain engaged and acutely aware of the issues that touch and concern the region, particularly issues like migration, where we're challenged by migration from Haiti, and those issues are important to be dealt with. Security, they're important to be dealt with. Health concerns, coronavirus, is very much a concern for the entire region. So we got a briefing on that, another briefing. So it's very important to meet.
What are your takeaways from this as you head back now?
Well, we go away concerted that the Caribbean is going to speak where we can with one voice. We go away with the support of all of the information that we've gathered together as a community. We go away knowing that 14 nations speak forcefully to the world, which attracts people like Trudeau, which attracts the president from the Netherlands or former prime minister from Ireland to want to engage with us. And so we go away feeling strong and knowing that we've done what we should together.
As a former British colony, the Bahamas enjoys membership to the Commonwealth of Nations. That group will meet for CHOGM later this year. Commonwealth Secretary General Patricia Scotland made her way to Barbados as a precursor to the meetings in Rwanda later this year.
It's of course rather special for me because I am the first woman to have been elected as Secretary General, and it's particularly a pleasure for me to see the chairmanship this session from another great Caribbean woman, Mia Mottley. But how wonderful it has been to see the support that she has had from all her colleagues, because of course the great Alain de Chastenay has just finished his term, and there are more to come. And to see all the Caribbean leaders coming together just as they came together when Dorian hit the Bahamas, whether it's Prime Minister Mitchell or the great Gonzalez from St. Vincent, all of our leaders saying with one voice that we, the people of the Caribbean, have to stand together, the fact that we're family, and the fact that although we're small, we have so much to give to the world and so much to give to each other. So it's very special for me to be home in the Caribbean with all the leaders who have demonstrated so powerfully that Caribbean spirit, all for one and one for all. There's a lot for us to do. All the leaders have been talking about the struggles our region still has, the issues that we've been fighting in relation to de-risking, the fact that we have been put on lists which make it incredibly difficult for us to function in a way that we could, the issues in relation to corresponding banking. But how do we maintain our resilience in the face of that monster climate change, which is posing an existential threat to all of us. So, as you know, from the moment I became Secretary General, climate change was put at the top of our agenda. Because we in the Commonwealth, we don't have to be told that there is an existential threat. We live it every day. And for the 32 small island states and for the least developed, this is a struggle. And it's a struggle for us to have our voices heard. So I've come to talk to our leaders about what they are doing, about what we are doing together, what the whole Commonwealth is doing.
It gives Commonwealth countries who are part of the region an opportunity to caucus and to talk about the things that we will address when we come together with Commonwealth nations in Rwanda, I think very soon, in a few months' time. Yeah.
When we come back, Haiti is once again high on CARICOM's agenda. You're watching On the Record, on assignment at CARICOM. Crises in the region aren't as far away as the OECD blacklisting or the crippling effects of climate change. Just look next door to the exploding political crises in Haiti. Since last year, an awful dilemma has been unfolding, driving the country to the brink of collapse. A struggle between Haiti's president and a surging opposition movement has led to violent demonstrations and barricaded streets across the country. This isn't Haiti's first time on the brink. For years, Haiti has been trapped in cycles of political and economic dysfunction. Many Haitians say the current crisis is worse than anything they have ever experienced. So, no surprise when it became a major agenda item addressed at the Barbados meetings.
This situation is very complex in nature, and the issues there are also of a complex nature as well. And in discussing, we also recognize that there are many different views on the way forward. But we all accepted the situation cannot continue with no intervention on the part of CARICOM. And in that regard, we've agreed to dispatch a team of senior officials led by the Secretary General, Ambassador Larocque, to visit Haiti and to meet with all relevant stakeholders, so that we can find some kind of, first of all, to know exactly what's happening on the ground, engaging stakeholders, but also seeking to devise a strategy of how CARICOM can assist Haiti in resolving this issue. Because it is felt that if we do not help address the domestic issue confronting Haiti, we will continue to have tremendous negative impacts on countries like the Turks and Caicos and the Bahamas, who are seeing a large number of migrants coming in to these countries and creating some domestic challenges for them. So we need to work with Haiti, to work with the various stakeholders in Haiti to find some kind of lasting solution to the current impasse.
I wanted to reference your deliberations on Haiti. Specifically, are you able to give us any idea on what you're hoping that mission or that fact-finding mission to Haiti might achieve? Also, you may have alluded to the fact that there were some differing opinions or even disagreements on a way forward for Haiti. Are you able to share with us what they may have been, and specifically for us, what the Bahamas' position might be, as we are one of two countries you mentioned that really feels the impact from unrest in Haiti?
Prime Minister Skerritt answered it. I don't think there were no different positions on Haiti. I think that our sensitivity is that we need, and I spoke to President Moise this morning, we need to ensure that the Secretariat is allowed to come in there with a fact-finding mission. We recognize that there is instability that is not only affecting the well-being of the people of Haiti, but it is now having an impact on the people of the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos. And we recognize that, therefore, the first thing we need to do is to have clarity as to what is transpiring, what is causing it, how it can be resolved, and at the same time, to be able to work as a community to minimize the negative impact of persons putting their life at risk. Because if you go in a small boat with some of the swells that we have seen across the region recently, people are going to die. And then those who don't die don't know what they're going to face when they go to another country where they are literally hiding and trying to literally survive, and they have no means of easy and ready survival. So this is not an easy issue. It's a complex issue, and Prime Minister Skerritt has made that clear. But the first step is for us to have the legitimacy of and the integrity of facts that we can rely upon.
The number of players in the Haitian situation. So it's not only the government, you have the private sector, you have civil society, you have a number of opposition parties involved. And so unless we have the facts, one cannot determine what is the way forward. And we have to be very careful as a community that we do not delegate our responsibility to Haiti. And we must not appear in any way to have what has become, in many parts of the world, Haiti fatigue. And we recognize that Haiti is part of the community, and we have a responsibility and a duty and an obligation to assist in a member state in unraveling its challenges and to work with them towards lasting solutions. But that finding a solution to the present impasse will not solve Haiti's problems for the future. And therefore, we need to engage Haiti and indeed the international community on the economic and social development of Haiti, and to look at the fiscal challenges confronting Haiti, the issues of debt, the issues of development, and to work with Haiti in developing a strategy that would bring lasting economic and social transformation to Haiti, including healthcare, including education and training, etc.
As leaders were wrapping up, Prime Minister Minnis took some time to visit a 100-acre housing development in Barbados known as Villages at Coverley. By his response, the Prime Minister may have found an answer to the massive home rebuilding needed from Hurricane Dorian.
The thing is that the walls, the external walls are only 4 inches, and a 4-inch precast wall is equivalent to an 8-inch blockwork in terms of strength. So you're able to achieve, in a smaller square footage, a lot more efficient space. The internal walls are only 3 inches. All of the windows and doors are also casted in the factory. So all of the frames are casted in concrete. There's no movement of frames. The windows are impact resistant. Doors are all casted in, electrical and plumbing. And in the factory, we would produce this home here, about 30 of them a day. And from there it just goes to site, and the floors are all pre-stressed hollow core. So they have cores in them. They're produced with a machine that has cores, so they have voids in them, so they're light but they're strong because they're pre-stressed, where you tension strands and then produce them and cut the strands, which gives you the strength.
Chairman and owner Mark Maloney gave the Prime Minister a glimpse into what could be a promise of Category 5 hurricane-resistant homes built in a local factory and ready in a month.
The parcel of land that we are on is about 100 acres of land with 1,000 homes and a town square. It's a lifestyle community that we have created in Barbados. And when I say lifestyle, it doesn't mean it's for rich people. It's for affordable income people, but it has all the amenities for people to live, work, shop, and play. All of the infrastructure has been designed to take into account high seismic and wind requirements and the elements. So the homes are designed out of precast, pre-stressed concrete, which is the most technologically advanced building system in the world. The homes are strong, they're cool, the homes dissipate heat, so inside the homes are cool. They have all the environmentally friendly attributes to them. We have solar, efficient electrical systems, we have energy efficient windows, so the glass is also tempered, and we've taken everything, all the details into account in the building of the homes in terms of the size of the homes, so that you get the best layout. There's no wasted space inside the homes with large hallways and so on, so you're able to build a home that could range from 650 square foot to just over 900 square foot, from 2 bedrooms to 4 bedrooms. So,
why are these types of homes ideal for the Bahamas, particularly with us being in a hurricane zone, hurricane belt, and what makes them, you think, an ideal kind of home?
From a design perspective, you could not have a system that is more durable to withstand wind and earthquake because of the design. We design for high wind and for seismic, so the homes are designed, they're modeled, so in real time you can see how the home performs in a hurricane or in an earthquake, and the homes can be built on columns as well, or stilts, as you probably better refer to it. So the homes can be built 5, 10, 15, 20 feet above the ground. These homes here, if all of the material was to be taken from underneath these homes, you'll see that they're on columns. So the material can go from underneath the homes and it won't affect the homes because they're designed to be simply supported on columns and to stand alone. So I hope that answers your question, but they're designed to withstand the elements, and you cannot have a system that is more technologically advanced in being able to withstand the elements, earthquakes and hurricanes and tornadoes and so on, like you can with these.
I know that you also have a unique roof design. Can you tell us about that as well?
Yeah, so our new roof design is a concrete roof, and it has foam in the middle of it. So that is also designed to be integral part of the home, and we have a R7 value, and R7 is the rating of the coolness of the home. So the homes are rated at R7 value, so you don't need air conditioning in the homes. The homes on their own are cool.
With projects in at least 7 other Caribbean countries and knowing firsthand of the topography and terrain of the Bahamas, Maloney's development caught the eye of the Prime Minister for more than one reason.
This site is one of the most advanced development in terms of building resilience. They took both hurricane and earthquake into consideration. They take solar systems, energy efficiency, the design, and I was more concerned with not only building resilience, but I have to build homes that's affordable to Bahamians, regardless of their economic background or their financial status. I want them to live in a community that where they would have quality of life, improvement of life, clean, healthy environment, and I think the design that we see here is compatible with what we're looking for.
What specifically were you impressed with so that you want to take back home?
I was impressed. One of the things that we noted during the last hurricane, homes that were built on stilts or piles, they survived the hurricane. Homes that had concrete Bermuda roof or the tin roof done efficiently, their roof survived. These homes are built on piles, though we can't see it. It's designed in such a way that we don't necessarily see it. And though the designs of the area don't allow flooding, but in the event you have flooding, the piles protect the homes, so the homes are automatically elevated. And these homes are designed to withstand 180, 220 miles an hour wind.
Now that you've been here, sir, are you going to implement some type of relationship with the developers so we can stay in contact with them so we can get advice on how we could build these types of homes in the Bahamas?
Yes. I would speak to the authority, and the authority would come down and visit, and then they would take it from there. We would provide the land with the authority. We want to put in the infrastructure, and then the authority. These developers have been able to build about 30 homes per month, which is on an exhilarative course. But at the same time, my concern was to ensure that Bahamians are involved. Bahamian labor is utilized. Bahamians are trained in terms of the skills, so that with time, Bahamians can do these type of development and infrastructural improvement themselves.
Would it be, or is the idea to have the company come in and build in the beginning as well?
Well, initially what we do is probably get somebody from the company as consultants, so they'd work with the authority, and then they can decide how to advance it from there.
Taking in the tour was Foreign Affairs Minister Darren Henfield, whose constituency of North Abaco was at the epicenter of the hurricane damage.
We think will transform, will change the paradigm of such communities in the Bahamas. The government, I think the Prime Minister has indicated that we've identified land in Spring City. I have to remind them that there's also land in Murphytown, just south of the community center, that we will look at as well. We think a sustainable community such as what we've seen is exactly what we need to be able to withstand these horrific and frequent weather events that destroyed basically Central and North Abaco during Dorian. And so we're very happy to have had an opportunity to tour that facility. And we know you're going to show Abaconians what we've seen there today.
Is it important, though, or how important is that transfer of knowledge and skills that they have here to our people?
Everything that we do in this government, we try to ensure that our human capital is improved. What we see in the future is that when other islands or other countries within our region are struck, Bahamians are well qualified, understand what it is to deal with tragedies and issues of these magnitude, and be able to move. Now, we're not going to allow any company to come into the Bahamas and build without transferring that knowledge to Bahamians, who will then be able to pick up and stand up companies that will be able to carry on the same type of work.
In our final segment tonight, the Prime Minister takes a personal thank you to some very special folks who donated to Hurricane Dorian relief. Stay with us. Hello and welcome to On the Record, a debate-style television talk show where Bahamians will find the balanced, true, and open debate they've been looking for.
And the icon goes to On the Record.
On the Record was born out of a desire to do something different. What we do every day helps our country, it helps our society, it helps to shape the views and opinions.
Listen, what is more dangerous? Gentlemen, we've got to move very quickly. Let's wrap up. It's all On the Record. I'm your host, Jerome Sawyer. Our discussion begins on the other side of this break. Welcome to our final segment tonight's show, Region in Crisis, CARICOM to the rescue. For as much as CARICOM leaders meet to deliberate the region's problems, every so often there is an occasion to show how much of a family we truly can be. Caribbean leaders were among the first to set foot in the Bahamas after Hurricane Dorian to survey the damage. Some of the first aid pledge and boots on the ground after Dorian came courtesy of our CARICOM neighbors. It was only fitting that at first opportunity to show his counterparts how appreciative we were for the help, Prime Minister Minist seized the opportunity. In an almost unprecedented occurrence, the Prime Minister thanked a group of Bajan students for their Hurricane Dorian relief efforts.
And the entire CARICOM community came to our assistance. I can't say the Bahamas is on the right track again. But I especially want to thank the students from Barbados. The students had gotten together recognizing the importance and the significance of education. The students had gotten together and accumulated large sums of money and then sent it back to the Bahamas to assist the Indian students, obtaining their school supplies and clothing and assist even their parents wherever necessary. These students have demonstrated complete leadership and support for our students in the Bahamas. And it's essential for me as I return home to inform not only the Bahamian nation, but all the schools in the Bahamas, and especially those students from Abaco and Grand Bahama, that the students in Barbados have come together as one, demonstrated true leadership, true support, true camaraderie, true family, and they have come brought forward all of their resources that they could have accumulated to assist our students in getting back together. And I want to say to those students that we appreciated your support.
Later, these two student leaders would share their inspiration behind their actions.
When we saw all of the devastation that was happening with Hurricane Dorian in the Bahamas, we couldn't just sit idly by and do anything. It just felt wrong. And we know that the Bahamas is so close to us and they're like family to us in the whole CARICOM region. So we decided that it would be best to try and see if we could do anything that we could to help. So we honestly didn't think that it would get this much publicity. We just wanted to raise any money that we could in the schools and stuff to see if we could help as much as we could. Well, I knew I couldn't do it by myself, so I gathered a few of my friends and we decided to go around the school and ask some of the students for money and whatnot and go up on the stage and just educate our students about what the initiative was and what it means to us and how close they are to us and how they're like family to us, so why we should raise money. And we just waited outside of the halls during assembly and people would come in and like give us money, and we'd sometimes go around at lunch to get money from students. And yeah, it was really fun, but I couldn't have done it without my friends, honestly.
Well, firstly, I put myself and the Barbadian region in their position, whereas that could have been us, and it was a devastating thing that occurred. So by doing an event, which also brought awareness to students, where persons volunteered, persons in the Barbadian society came together and donated their funds and services by performing, that encouraged students to come up to the event and supported it. Even students that didn't come into the event still contributing money, and that showed that yes, they did not care about the music, but they were aware of the tragedy that occurred. And for little children in first farm to say stuff that would have affected the Bahamas and how it could have happened to us was a highlight in how you can just share information by doing one little thing and it can be highlighted.
School children aren't what you would call a common sight at CARICOM meetings. Leaders, their delegations, and a room full of technocrats are whom you see at these meetings, so it was especially rewarding to not only be recognized, but to have a chance to meet leaders.
Honestly, that was extremely nerve-wracking, but it was an honor, honestly. It was really amazing. I didn't expect to meet any of them, and they're really inspiring people. So I was very, very grateful to be able to be able to experience that.
I was immensely honored to have the privilege to be in his presence, of course, and it was words can't explain. But I was honored, and it was enlightening and inspiring as well.
The speech that he gave, honestly, it was inspiring, as he said. It allowed us to see that the schoolwork that we're doing applies to life and how it can be used in all aspects of life. Personally, I feel as though that they didn't have to do it, but they did, so I feel honored. I feel proud that I'm able to represent Compamir. I represent the students of Barbados. I honestly just feel honored to be here.
First of all, it was a privilege to be here in the presence of all of these prime ministers and all these honorable people. And I am very grateful and thankful that both of them took time to thank us for being here and also inviting us. It was a great privilege to be here and to hear all of the stuff pertaining to CARICOM and how we're family and stuff like that. And it's just an honor to be here. Thank you.
As the Bahamas' non-resident ambassador to CARICOM, His Excellency Ruben Ramming put the gesture into context as one neighbor simply helping another.
The laws of the government, of any government, that give order, but the heart of the government, a government, gives life, it gives hope, it brings unity. we must never distance government from heart. Our Prime Minister is a very caring person. He must make hard decisions, he must stand firm, but he's very sensitive. And he understands relationships. You've seen in the midst of our struggle how we stood up for persons in Dominica, and we stand in solidarity with our people. But he was very, very moved when shown through his ambassadors the detail of the level of outpouring when the children of Barbados, stood up and they just stood for the Bahamas, and they were sending significant amount of monies raised through SEDEMA to help the Bahamas, and he felt it proper that he would come as the leader of the country and look the children in the eye and tell them on behalf of a grateful nation, we appreciate it. Why is that also very, very important? The Bible says you will know them by their fruits. Seeing the children of Barbados respond that way means that that's the fruit of Barbados. Could you imagine what the parents are thinking, knowing that the children are doing this? So they gave us a glimpse into the heart of Barbados, and the fitting response is for Barbados to have a glimpse into the heart of the Bahamas. And no one more fitting than the leader to look them in the eye and personally say thank you.
That's going to do it for tonight's episode. Special thanks to my production team who traveled to Barbados for this episode, and to the CARICOM Secretariat for graciously accommodating us. So we'll see you next time right here, same time, same place, on The Record.